Hello, everyone. Welcome to Opinions New by Dr. Frank Shea and Frank. In this episode, my topic is 9 ways Trump surprised us all. Right? 9 ways President Trump surprised every one of us. Nine times. We can see that today is October 24th, 2020. Right? And now the 2020 election, general election, the U.S. election is entering its final leg, right? With only 10 days to go. We have seen many so-called October surprises, happy endings, sad endings. Right? Looks like President Trump is facing attack, crazy attack from the left. And the mainstream media and the social media, they actually work together to attack him. Right? And we can see how deep this Washington swamp truly is. Right? And also it seems that the people from all over the world, they seem to all have been involved more or less into this election. They're willing to participate or witness this key moment. I think a very key moment, important moment in human history. On social media and on internet, I met many people, many friends from Canada, from mainland China, Taiwan, or Hong Kong, from other Asian countries. They are asking, they're saying, how can they participate? They're not the U.S. citizens, they cannot vote, but they said they want to participate, want to help. And they all share the same feeling that whether Trump is going to win the election or not, has something to do with them. They're 10,000 miles, tens of thousands of miles away, but this election has something to do with them, their people, their country, and even humanity. Okay? Now, under the frenzy and heated exchange of the election, if we can calm down, look at the world today, we'll find that this is really a good time to seek some calmness, quietness, and think about humanity, life, and etc. Right? I think the world affairs, international affairs, world affairs, is just like a chess game. Right? We can play the game, but we don't want to get too deeply involved in the game or to be confused by the game. We can oversee the phenomenon or oversee the situation happening in front of us, and we probably start to feel sad, sadness for our human being. Okay? If you look at the past 4 years of the Trump administration, some people say, he was just lucky he was elected. And some say, there's a reason for him to be selected. Okay? But no matter what, I believe it seemed to me that he's liked, loved more and more by more and more Americans. I think people that I have come across, they love this guy, the statesman. He's a statesman. He says what he wants to say, do what he wants to do. His conscience tells him to do, and he can keep his promises, and he takes responsibilities. Right? He's not just like a politician. Of course, there are many people who hate him. Right? There are many people. Those people who hate him are becoming more and more desperate and more crazy, it seems to me. Right? People who like him are moved by his, actions and moves, everything, and his words. People who hate him, right, are also, feeling crazy about everything he says, does, or did. Okay? But no matter you like him or not, hate him, or love him or dislike him, but we all probably will all agree with one thing, that is, there's so many surprises, so many things that we cannot, possibly imagine. There are too many surprises that's happening with Trump. Right? And sometimes the things that are so surprising that we Americans we cannot really think of. Can we could not have even thought about this. Neither could the enemies of America, like Chinese communists, could imagine that. They were surprised and shocked as well. I have kind of like summarized, 9 major surprises that the Trump has brought to us. See if you agree. Okay. First surprise is from when he first started his campaign. Right? You think about the 4 years ago. There were so many great, politicians, good, great candidates. It's like joining the race, entering the race. There's 16 of them, 16 candidates. They're all, heavy duty, big celebrities, VIP level people in politics, from senior U.S. senators, governors of major states, big states, the CEO of a big company, world global company, spiritual leaders, experts in certain industries, right? They're all over the place. There are even just for even 9 governors of the states, state governors, right? But Trump actually, cut through all these, experienced a lot of hardships and achieved victory. Yeah. His victory, in the eyes of those leftists in the Democrat Party, it's something that is so hard for them to swallow even today. And it seemed to me. And the second surprise is that as soon as Trump, took office, in 2017, and I think he immediately, fell into a trap, fell into a deep trouble. A lot of crisis surrounding him. His cabinet, if you look at it from the Secretary of State, defense minister, chief of staff in the warehouse, the attorney general, to FBI directors. There's so many people who just he couldn't know, nobody could know what kind of people they were. They just cannot know, could not figure out or imagine what these people, vicious people were. And there's so many harms, crises, you can see emerging. Okay? Only after 2 years was he able to come up with the team, a core team of himself. He's a team, first class team, so he could really do something to counter the attack from enemies, within the United States and without the United States, outside the world. Right? Of course, his enemies never relaxed. They've been they've been working against him using the Russian gate, Ukrainian gate, Mueller report, and the absurd, impeachment. But again, Trump, went through all of this, and came into what it is today, under the watchful eyes of the world. Okay? The third surprise is the U.S. economy. That's a big surprise, a miracle. Right? Normally, if you say that the tax reduction to get money, flowing back into the country, cut interest rate to increase liquidity, right? Or have policy to make manufacturers back to the United States. These are all tools or measures that's not unheard of. We have seen that before, right? But in the hand of Donald Trump, you can see the combination of these tools really brought American economy, U.S. economy to great, great success. If you look at the economic growth, full employment, right, and the reduction in unemployment for all the minorities groups, right, and it creates all the best in the country in U.S. history. Even people like Wall Street, who really hates him, they have to admit that the stock market, is amazing in creating, generating wealth, and the stock market, broke its records and times and again. Right? So American economy, we can say that set itself ready for a huge recovery before before the Chinese virus finally hit us. Right? The fourth surprise, it seems to me, is that Trump can actually turn his friends, foes into friends. It's an amazing capability here, turning his foes into friends. He won the heart of many Republicans and conservatives. He was not favored by those Republicans, the establishment in the beginning. We all know that. He was fighting the Democrats and Republicans alike. Right? And then he became a great help for all the campaigns, elections for the Republican senators, congressmen, governors. He's able to help them to win the election, and he's going to help the party, the GOP, to raise tons of money. Okay? He won the hearts of most people, the majority of people in the establishment, and there's the big guys, heavy duty guys like U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham from South Carolina, who is the chairman of Senate Judiciary Committee. He's very much in support of Trump. Right? Him and Mitch McConnell. If you look at it, just been in 2016, when Trump first entered the race, like Trump and Lindsey Graham, they were really fighting with each other, cursing at each other. Now they're great friends now. Okay? The fifth surprise seemed to me is that his Trump and his administration, from vice president to secretary of state to human rights ambassador, right? They're really bringing America back to our tradition of freedom of religion and belief, okay? And back to our dream, the best state, or the ideals of those people on the Mayflowers who escaped religious persecution. Trump administration is working really hard for people who have beliefs, right, and who are being persecuted. He's really paying attention to human rights issues. When Trump received from Falun Gong practitioners from China, the Xinjiang Muslims, Uyghurs in China, and underground Christians in China, and also people who were persecuted because of their beliefs from other countries in the White House. I believe there's many people are moved by that scene. Okay? The number six surprise, is that he's the one who keeps his promises. Yeah? He actually delivered on his promises. This is probably among the first, in American history. Okay? And he kept his promise. Right? He moved U.S. embassy to Jerusalem. Right? And everyone said, "Oh, this is going to bring a new crisis, disaster in Middle East," but it didn't. It didn't. And turned out that there is actually an eternal peace. There is a diplomatic breakthrough between Israel and Arab countries. And so as of now, there are 4 or 5 countries who just established diplomatic relationship with Israel. Yeah. Now we can really see the dawn of peace in the Middle East. Also, Trump, remobilized or revitalized Japanese potential, and so the Japan can, increase or enhance its military power to counter. To counter the rise of Chinese communists. Okay? And also Trump helped with the countries like India, democracies, to counter the Chinese expansion. Okay? And Trump's military uses the new type of missiles like the one with seems to be like with some six blades on it, like a Hellfire missile with blades on it. So it will get, into the dictators or bad guys, enemy generals, and just to the right person very precisely, without even without the big explosion, and without hurting people around the person, around the target. I think this new precision uh, munition or weapon that does not use explosives, but just the physical, you can say contact is changing the way we fight wars in the future. Okay. The seventh surprise is that is about the Chinese virus, CCP virus, and the Wuhan pandemic when it attacked the White House. The whole family, or whole family was infected, and that made the whole country and the whole world feel saddened. Okay? There were over 100,000 people praying in front of Lincoln Memorial, okay? And tens of thousands of churches, without prayers, by people, Americans. Okay? That's really moving, quite moving. Okay? There are evil-minded people, or enemies of America and the free world. They probably felt that they were hoping that the pandemic, the disease, would make the president bedridden and unable to participate in the election, or even having to give up his power. But to the frustration of Trump's enemies, and Trump, jumped out of the bed after 3 days and recovered, and his whole family was out of danger, and the whole team is revitalized. Now, the speed of recovery is truly amazing. It's truly surprising. The eighth surprise is that how the Chinese communist was pushed to the corner by Trump administration. We can see that back in 2017, the Trump and his team did not really understand the evil nature, fully understand the truly evil nature of Chinese communists. Or Americans are very compassionate, nice, right? And when they are confronted with those strange, behavior of Chinese communists, their deceit, their deception, they felt puzzled. I can see why they felt puzzled. They couldn't understand it. We can understand it. As Chinese Americans, we can understand it. Okay? But then with the cover up by Chinese communists about the pandemic, and then with the virus and finally attacking the White House, I think his whole team finally realized the evil nature of Chinese communists. Now start to become hard, tougher on China, right? And started the whole full attack on Chinese communists. Okay? We can see the overseas media owned by Chinese communists is being scrutinized. The Chinese communist has the so-called grand propaganda machine that is being curbed. Okay? The Chinese agents, spies in America, and that being arrested, some of them are being arrested. Okay? And also the White House realized some Chinese, Chinese media, independent Chinese media like Epoch Times and TTTV, and the importance of those media. And they are able to distinguish between China and the Chinese communists. Okay? And they can actually, clearly separate Chinese people and the communist elite. Right? Now they are targeting directly and precisely at the Chinese Communist Party, CCP. Yeah. Now it looks like the CCP has no way out. They are cornered. They're cornered. American is fighting China, holding China accountable for this pandemic and the economic consequences, and is fighting the wars in all fronts, from trade, economy, science and technology, human rights, diplomacy, and even maybe a sea battle in the Western Pacific or South China Sea. Okay? The ninth surprise is that about this election. Right? This election it seems to me, in my opinion, the importance of this election is unprecedented in American history, right? Because it directly affects the state of this country, the union, and our future. We can see this uh, election 2020 is a litmus test. It's a litmus test of good and evil, right? And that's really what it is. Okay? If Trump's election and campaign really have forced many people in America and in the world to come out. They're forced to come out to stand in front of the world media. They have to take their sides, right? Take their sides and show where they stand, right? And there is a distinction between good and evil. There's nothing you can falsify. You have to say clearly where you are, who you are supporting. Okay? We also realize that in this war, without gunpowder, not yet, and if America is not successful, excuse me, is not able to be successful in eradicating Marxism, communism, and socialism, their ideals, and then comes China, and the socialist forces in America will swallow America. It will destroy America, and then they will destroy the humanity. That's what I think. Okay. So, this election 2020, election 2020 will be over soon, in 10 days or so. Will there be more surprises and more things that will shock us? I think so. We'll see. Okay. Thank you, and that's all I have to say in this episode of Opinions New by Frank. Thank you. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.